The beginning is always exciting. Every pursuit starts with energy, with clarity, with the feeling that something important has finally begun. Early progress feels meaningful because it's new. The mind is stimulated, the emotions are involved, attention is easy. This is the phase everyone mistakes for commitment. Motivation shows up first. It feels powerful. It feels convincing. But motivation is not proof of anything. It's a reaction to novelty. The first results arrive quickly. The effort feels light. The future feels close. And that's where the illusion forms. People think this feeling will last. They plan around it. They depend on it. But novelty always expires. Not suddenly, quietly. The work doesn't change. The goal doesn't change. The feeling does. This is the moment no one prepares for. When progress slows just enough to be boring. When effort continues, but excitement leaves. When nothing feels wrong, but nothing feels rewarding. This is where boredom appears. Not dramatic boredom, not obvious resistance. Subtle boredom, the kind that whispers, "This isn't urgent. This can wait. This doesn't feel the same." Most people think boredom means something is wrong, that the goal was incorrect, that the timing is off, that they've lost passion. They misread the signal. Boredom is not a warning. It's a transition. It marks the end of emotional momentum and the beginning of structural commitment. Until this point, emotions were carrying the weight. Interest was doing the work. Momentum was free. Now, the system asks a different question. Not, "Are you excited?" but "Are you aligned?" Boredom removes stimulation. It strips the experience down to repetition, to routine, to process without reward. This is where reality begins. Because reality doesn't entertain. It doesn't inspire daily. It doesn't reassure. It just repeats. The people who make it past this point don't feel better than anyone else. They just stop expecting to. They stop asking the work to make them feel something. This is the misunderstanding that ends most pursuits. People think discipline means pushing harder. But discipline at this stage means staying when nothing is pulling you forward. Boredom tests something deeper than motivation. It tests identity. Who are you when the work feels neutral? Who are you when progress is invisible? Who are you when effort gives nothing back? That's the real question. Because boredom doesn't challenge your ability, it challenges your relationship with consistency. Most people don't quit loudly here. They drift. They miss a day, then another. Then the structure dissolves quietly. They don't fail, they disengage. And later, they say they lost interest. But interest was never the requirement. Interest was always temporary. Boredom was always inevitable. And what comes after boredom is the part almost no one reaches.
This is where most people disappear.
Not at the beginning, not at the first obstacle. They disappear when nothing is wrong. The work is clear. The path still exists. The goal hasn't changed. But the feeling is gone. Boredom doesn't arrive with chaos, it arrives with quiet. Too quiet. There's no urgency pushing you, no excitement pulling you forward, just the same task. Again. This is where people start negotiating. I'll skip today. I'll make it up later. It won't matter this once. Nothing breaks immediately. That's why it works. Boredom doesn't demand a decision. It invites delay. And delay feels harmless. You're not quitting. You're not failing. You're just postponing. This is the most dangerous phase because there's no clear consequence, no penalty, no alarm, just a slow erosion of structure. One skipped session becomes two. Two become a pattern. The pattern becomes permission. People don't abandon goals here. They loosen standards. And standards are what hold everything together. Boredom tests your tolerance for sameness, for doing the same thing without emotional reinforcement. It asks whether your commitment was built on feeling or on decision. Most people discover the truth here. They didn't want the process, they wanted the stimulation around it. So when stimulation disappears, so do they. They look for something new, something fresh, something exciting. And the cycle restarts. New goal, new energy, new illusion. This is why so many people are busy but unchanged, active but not progressing. Boredom filters them out every time, not because they're incapable, because they mistake consistency for stagnation. They believe progress should feel alive, but real progress often feels neutral, quiet, uneventful, unrewarding in the moment. That neutrality is where the test sharpens. Can you continue without emotional confirmation? Can you show up without intensity? Can you stay when there's no reason to feel good about it? Most people answer without realizing it. They stop. Not loudly, not decisively, they just fade out. Boredom doesn't chase you away. It waits until you excuse yourself. If this message resonates with you, like and subscribe for more content like this. This channel is built for people who are done waiting.
Boredom is not testing your willpower.
It's testing your identity. When excitement is gone, you're left with a simple question. Who are you without stimulation? Most people don't know, because most identities are built around feeling something, motivation, pressure, urgency. Remove those, and the self becomes unstable. This is why boredom feels uncomfortable, not because the work is hard, but because it's exposing. Without stimulation, you can't hide behind emotion. There's no adrenaline to borrow, no anxiety to push you, no excitement to justify movement. Just repetition. Repetition reveals truth. It shows whether your actions are tied to who you are or to how you feel. People who rely on emotion need variation. They need novelty. They need spikes. But people who rely on identity need alignment. They move because it's what they do, not because it feels good. This is why boredom filters people so precisely. It removes emotional scaffolding. No praise, no urgency, no narrative. Only decision. At this stage, discipline stops feeling heroic. It feels mechanical. You show up, you execute, you leave. No surge, no collapse. Most people interpret this as loss of passion. They say they're burned out. But burnout isn't always overload. Sometimes it's identity mismatch. You are chasing a feeling, not embodying a role. When the feeling left, the reason vanished. People who pass this stage stop negotiating with their emotions. They stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" They ask, "Is this who I am?" That question changes everything, because identity doesn't need motivation. It needs consistency. Consistency turns repetition into inevitability. You don't decide each day, you don't debate, you don't need momentum. You just continue. This is where boredom loses power, not because it disappears, but because it stops being relevant. The work no longer asks for emotion, it only asks for execution. And when execution becomes automatic, progress becomes quiet, invisible at first, unimpressive, but stable, unshakable. Boredom didn't break you, it clarified you.
Boredom doesn't defeat you.
It waits. It waits until motivation leaves, until novelty fades, until no one is watching. That's why it's the final test. Everything before this had assistance. Energy helped, fear helped, excitement helped. Boredom removes all of it. No pressure, no praise, no consequence for stopping, at least not immediately. This is where outcomes are decided quietly, not by talent, not by intelligence, not by effort spikes, by endurance without stimulation. Most people never realize they failed this test. They don't quit in a moment of weakness, they quit in comfort. They say they're taking a break. They say they'll come back to it. They say it wasn't meant to be. But boredom already passed its judgment. Those who remain don't feel stronger, they feel neutral. They don't feel inspired, they don't feel driven, they don't feel special, they just continue. This is where separation happens, when consistency becomes automatic, when showing up requires no argument, when the work no longer negotiates. At this point, progress stops asking permission. It accumulates quietly, day after day, rep after rep, decision after decision. Others look back later and call it discipline. They call it grit. They call it confidence. But it was none of that. It was simply staying when boredom offered an exit. This is why results seem sudden to outsiders. They didn't see the neutral days, the quiet repetitions, the uneventful months. They only see the outcome. But the outcome was decided long before it appeared. Boredom didn't make you stop. You chose whether to listen to it. And that choice is what defines everything that follows. If you're bored right now, good. That means the test has begun. Don't look for motivation. Don't change direction. Stay, repeat, execute without emotion. If you're willing to outlast boredom, stay here. This is where separation happens.